Hi, it's Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours, and thank you so much for joining me for our Saturday live stream. Today I'm going to talk about when is the best time to apply for a Friendly Nation visa or a pensionado visa or any of the other visas that are out there. When's the best time to apply for a visa? I'm also going to give you a little tip on how you can save at least $1,000 to $2,000 on getting your residency visa here in Panama. But first, for the benefit of those that are new to our channel, my name is Jackie Lang. I'm the owner of Panama Relocation Tours. And since 2010, we've been offering all-inclusive 6-day, 7-night tours that go across Panama to teach you all the things you know to have a smooth move to Panama, including information about getting a residency visa. We also offer something called our online Panama Relocation Guide, which has a lot of the same information in a tour, but it's all online. So it's basically a home study course. You can do it at your own time and do a trip at your own time. We're currently doing tour number 222. So in 14 years, we've done 222 all-inclusive relocation tours. We're the leader in helping people be able to relocate to Panama. And if any of you are interested in relocating to Panama, I encourage you to go to our website, PanamaRelocationTours.com, and just put in your email there so you can start getting our free 15-part email series about how to relocate to Panama. You'll learn about banking, getting your pets here, finding a rental, all kinds of different things that you'll be learning about. So I'd love to know where you're from. If everybody will let us know where you're from. We kind of keep track of that to know where people are from on our live streams. Also, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us a lot if you subscribe. You'll also, whenever you subscribe, then you'll be the first one to know whenever we upload a new video. We have a new video that should be ready early next week. Plus our videographer is shooting 2 more videos next week. So we'll have 3 videos coming up soon. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell, then you'll be the first to know when those videos go live. So without further ado, I want to talk about, today I'm going to talk about when to apply for a residency visa. Let me just give you a little background about that. So as a tourist, if you just want to come to Panama and live, you can't do that. You have to get a residency visa to be able to live in Panama indefinitely. As a tourist, if you're from North America, you can stay for 180 days as a tourist. The problem is, if you want to drive during that 180 days, you can only drive for the first 90 days that you're in country. But you can, we encourage you to always do a scouting trip and come and check out Panama, whether you do our Panama Relocation Tour, or if you do a scouting trip on your own, or if you take one of our private tours to learn about the different areas. We encourage you to always do a scouting trip first before you just come down and apply for a residency visa. And that's what we've had. Some people recently have said, I've never been to Panama and I want to get a visa to be able to move there. And that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, as we say in Texas. It's better for you to come to Panama and make sure that Panama is the place that you would even want to move to before you jump through all the hoops of getting the paperwork necessary to get a visa. And I talked about that in last Saturday's live stream. Before you jump through the hoops on getting that, before you engage an immigration attorney and start accumulating all those fees that are necessary to get a visa, it's better for you to come to Panama and make sure you like Panama, and maybe even decide which area that you want to move to in Panama to know that Panama is right for you before you start spending money on a residency visa. I'm the first one to admit that Panama is not right for everyone. It's definitely rough around the edges compared to what you're used to in North America. In many ways, I think Panama is much better, but some of you will disagree. Maybe it's because I've lived here for such a long time that this is home. And it just seems like it's the way it's supposed to be. Actually, when I go back to the United States, I kind of feel like I'm in a foreign country because everything's so different than it is here in Panama. But the thing about applying for a residency visa before you've ever even visited is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know about all the different visa options. You don't know the right immigration attorney to pick. You don't know even if you're going to like living in Panama. You don't know about getting your pets here, finding a rental, buying a car. You don't know a lot of things. So on our Panama relocation tours, that's what we teach you. We teach you all of those things also in our online guide. We teach you those things. And we even have some people that say, well, right after my tour, I want to get my residency visa so that I can move to Panama really soon. And we think that's a bit of a mistake, because whenever you come on a Panama relocation tour, it's usually your first time to come to Panama. And once again, you don't know what you don't know. So our tour is very comprehensive in teaching you the things that you need to know so that you'll have a smooth, hassle-free move whenever you move to Panama. If you're fortunate enough to be able to stay another week after the tour, instead of spending that time getting a residency visa, we really recommend that you spend that time going back to the area that you like the most and doing a deep dive and exploring it a little bit more. Check out the grocery stores. Check out the pharmacy if you take medications. Check out rentals. Get with one of the real estate agents that we recommend and check out some of the rentals. And make sure that Panama is something that would be right for you before you start getting a residency visa. It's especially important, like I talked about last week, it's especially important if you have some dings on your National Criminal Report or your FBI report, you need to go ahead and get a copy of that now. And then I would suggest that you send it to one of the immigration attorneys that we recommend in our online guide, and find out if you can even get a visa. Because if you have a felony or any assault charges, you're not going to be able to get a residency visa. So don't sell your house and sell your car and ship a shipping container to Panama thinking you're going to get a visa when perhaps you cannot get a visa because of something that's on your criminal report. Also, whenever, like I said, I think it's important for you to come and do an exploratory trip or a scouting trip first. We'd love for you to join us on a Panama relocation tour. During that scouting trip, if you take medications, you need to go to several different pharmacies to see if your medications are even available in Panama and what do they cost. I know someone just last week was saying that in the United States, the heart medication that they took was $150 a month, but in Panama, it's $25 a month. So they're saving a lot of money on their medication here in Panama. But some people discover that their medication that was $25 or even less in the United States cost $150 in Panama. So that's something you need to find out before you make plans to move to Panama. You need to check on medications. You need to check your criminal record. You also need to find out if you can get health insurance. If you have pre-existing conditions, you may not be able to get health insurance in Panama, at least not through a Panama-only company. So you need to find that out before you sell your house and ship a container and make plans to move to Panama and get a residency visa. So when is the best time to get a visa? In my opinion, the best time to get a visa is after you move to Panama. And why do I say that? Because if you get a visa before you move to Panama, then you're going to need to be here at least 5, usually 7 business days. So that means you're going to have 5 to 7 days of hotel expenses, figure $100 a month for hotel expenses. Plus you're going to have to eat out every single day. You may be renting a car to be driving around. So all of those expenses are going to add up to at least $1,000, maybe $1,500, not to mention the airfare to get to Panama before you actually move to Panama. So if you want to save some money, you could come to Panama and just do your scouting trip first, verify that Panama is right for you, make sure that the medications that you take are available, perhaps meet with an immigration attorney and show them your national criminal report and verify that you're going to even be able to get a residency visa, because they're pretty picky about who they let move to Panama. Also, perhaps meet with an insurance agent here in Panama and determine if you can get health insurance. What's it going to cost? What's it going to cover? And see if that's satisfactory to you. So on your scouting trip or on a Panama relocation tour, you can do all of those things to make sure that Panama is right for you before you actually move here. And then if it is right for you, during your Panama relocation tour or in the online guide, we have a list of documents that you need to gather in order to get a residency visa, whether it's the Friendly Nation visa or a pensionado visa, whether it's a single person applying or a couple applying. There's different documents that are needed depending on your status. So we'll give you all of those documents, a list of documents that you need to gather up before you move here. But if you wait and if you wait and get your residency visa after you move to Panama, then you can save yourself at least $1,000, I would say $2,000 if you wait and get your visa at that time. The other thing, and I talked about this last week, that you have to be very careful of is make sure that you get with an immigration attorney up front and let them know, hey, I'm moving to Panama on such and such date, and I'd like to get a residency visa after I move to Panama. And the attorney will say, well, we've got this date, or this date available to help you get a visa. Immigration attorneys are always working around the Panamanian holidays. In November alone, we have 5 different holidays, and on many of those holidays, the government and immigration is shut down for 3 to 5 days. So you have to get with an immigration attorney and let them help you decide when is the best time to get a visa, so that you're not coming whenever the government shut down. You can't just show up. It's also much better if you send all of your documents to the immigration attorney in advance before you actually move here, so that they can go ahead and get everything translated into Spanish by a certified translator. It has to be done here in Panama. And also, if you got your documents authenticated at the Panama consulate, then your documents can be re-authenticated at the Ministry of Foreign Relations before you ever arrive. So to reiterate, the best time to get a visa is after you move here. Then you don't have any hotel expenses. You don't have to eat out. You're already going to have your refrigerator stocked full of food. You can eat at home. You can eat breakfast before you leave for immigration. You might have to have lunch in town whenever you're getting your visa, but you'll be back home in time to have dinner at home. So you can save money by getting your visa after you move to Panama. Let me look at my notes real quick and see what else. So the gotchas are that FBI report or your national criminal report. If you know there might be something on it, please don't move to Panama. If you know there's something on your FBI report, don't just move to Panama first. You need to get that criminal report. You need to send it to an immigration attorney and verify and make sure that you're going to be able to get a visa. Let me turn my phone off. It's beeping over here. Okay, so make sure you do that. Also, the immigration attorney, whenever you contact them and say, hey, I'd like to come to Panama, I'm moving to Panama, I'd like to get a visa, they'll give you a list of documents also, things that you have to get in your country and some documents that you're going to get here in Panama. Of course, they'll help you with everything that you need to get here in Panama. But until you have a permanent visa, I would not recommend that you ship a shipping container down. You might want to come to Panama and just rent something that's already furnished for the first 6 months that you're here, and then you can ship a shipping container down later. If you're getting a pensionado visa, you'll have your permanent visa within that 6 months also. So that's the main thing I wanted to tell you. I know this is only 14 minutes into the call. It's a very short call, but I'll be glad to take your questions. If the question is about getting a residency visa, I'm glad to take your questions. But my advice, to reiterate, my advice is don't come to Panama if you've never been here before to get a residency visa. When you come on a Panama relocation tour, I would not recommend staying another week to get a visa after your tour. It's better for you to learn all the things that you need to know during the tour, let that all sink in, and really think about, is Panama a place I would want to live? Which town did I like the best? Is there another town I want to explore? We don't go to Bocas del Toro when we're doing the Panama relocation tour. That may be something you want to stay for 3 or 4 or 5 days after the tour and go visit Bocas del Toro and see if that's a place that you would like to move to. But during that scouting trip that you do on your own, or the scouting trip that you do with Panama relocation tours, the purpose of that are 2 things. Number one, to show you all the different areas in Panama to help you decide which area is right for you. The main purpose of the tour is to teach you the things that you need to know so that you will not make any expensive mistakes whenever you move to Panama. And you're going to get our list of people that we know are honest and ethical here in Panama to work with, so you're not going to get taken advantage of by anyone. So now I'm going to take a couple of questions from you. So Mark wants to know how much of the process can be done in David and what needs to be done in Panama City. So the entire process can be done in Panama City as far as getting your visa. Your temporary visa can be had in David. Also, your permanent visa you can get in David. The only part that you'll need to go to Panama City for is when it's time to get your cedula or your national ID card. In that process, you have to go to Panama City just for 1 day to do the application, but then you can say you want the cedula to be sent to the town that you live in, whether that's David or Volcan or Las Tablas or wherever that might be. Terry wants to know, does the FBI report need to be apostilled? So whenever you're pulling your FBI report, just to see what's on it, and if something shows up for you to send it to your immigration attorney, at that point it does not need to be apostilled or authenticated. It's just to show your attorney what's on there, to say, hey, I've got 3 DUIs and 1 misdemeanor for drug possession. And if those things are on your FBI report, then you need to send that to your immigration attorney and say, what are my chances of getting a visa? And they're going to tell you 50%, 80%, 20%, or you can't get a visa. But you need to know that before you just move to Panama. Whenever you're ready to actually apply for a visa, whichever visa that it might be, then your FBI report needs to be either authenticated by the Panama consulate, which is the fastest and easiest way, or it can be apostilled by the Federal State Department in the U.S. Starting in January, Canadians are going to be able to get their RCMP, which is their criminal report, apostilled. Starting in January, you can't do it right now. And I've contacted 3 attorneys, and they all require different documents for the same type of visa. How can this be? How can the requirement vary with the attorney? Maybe they have a different name for it. The document that you need is going to be the same, but maybe they just call it something different. We have that here in Panama. For example, I call it a residency visa just to distinguish it from a visa, because from some countries, you need a visa just to be able to come to Panama and visit. So the visas that I'm talking about are the visa that you need to get residency here in Panama. So sometimes people just have a different name for exactly the same document. But a pensionado visa, some people call it a retirement visa, some people call it a jubilado visa or a pensionado visa, but it's all the same thing. Can I get health insurance before I have my visa? It depends on which health insurance that you're going to get. Some of the health insurance in Panama, they require that you already have a visa, and some health insurance, they don't require that you already have a visa. In our complete Panama relocation guide, and I'll put a link to that up here, right here in our online complete Panama relocation guide, we have a list of super honest, very reliable insurance agents that can let you know which insurance is available to you that you can get before you actually move to Panama. So Misty says, what's the name or type of visa where you put $9,000 into Panama Bank and pay yourself $10,000 a month? So that's not really how it works. There's a visa, it's called the Friendly Nation visa, that it costs about $5,000 to get that visa. And then you have to pay yourself $1,000 a month for the first 9 months that you have that visa. You could just go ahead and put the $9,000 into the bank to pay yourself, or you can pay yourself $1,000 a month. And if you go to our website at PanamaRelocationTours.com, and in the search feature at the upper right-hand corner, type in 5,000, and we have more information about that visa. It's called the Friendly Nation visa. If you move to Panama and start a pensionado visa process, do you need to go back to the States to get more paperwork done? If you do it the right way, this is back to me saying you don't know what you don't know. So the last thing you want to do is come to Panama, move to Panama to get your pensionado visa. You go to your immigration attorney and they say, well, where's your income verification letter? And it's, or your income verification letter isn't authenticated, or where's this, or where's that? So that's why it's really important for you to do that scouting trip, get the information in the online guide, come on a Panama relocation tour, and we'll educate you on the information that you need to get a pensionado visa. Also talking to an immigration attorney that can give you a list of documents that you need to get it. So if you do everything the right way, you get the right documents and they're either apostilled or authenticated before they come to Panama, then you won't need to go back to the U.S. for any other documents. One of the things I really recommend that you do is once you get your documents together, before you even do the authentication or the apostille process, before you do any of that, scan your documents and email it to your immigration attorney. Say, does this all look okay? Is everything all right? And once they give you the green light and they say everything's good, then you can go and get it apostilled or authenticated. For example, if your income verification letter doesn't say, if it's Social Security, you don't have to worry about it. But for some of the other income verification letters, if it doesn't say lifetime income, that could be rejected. So that's why it's really important to have your immigration attorney look over the documents before you come to Panama, because it's better to correct that problem before you get here so that you don't have to go back. Good question, Will. Where should I apply for a tourist visa? In the U.S. base, so there is no tourist visa. There is no such thing as a tourist visa. All you do, if you're from North America, whenever you come into Panama, they're going to put a stamp in your passport. That's it. There isn't anything called a tourist visa. So you don't have to, and you cannot convert a tourist visa over to a permanent visa unless you actually submit all the documents that are necessary, like your national criminal report, income verification, and other documents that are necessary. If you're married, certified marriage certificate. So you can't convert a tourist visa to a permanent visa. It's two separate things. So Sheldon says, if my FBI report is clean and I'm just waiting on documents to complete my pensionado visa package, can I safely purchase a car in Panama, or should I wait until the visa is in my hand? I would suggest that you wait until the visa is in your hand. And let me tell you why. You can buy the car, but you're not going to be able to drive the car. So that creates a bit of a problem. Whenever you come to Panama as a tourist, in other words, you don't have a residency visa, you can only drive for the first 90 days that you're in Panama. But the day you apply for that visa, you can no longer drive in Panama on your foreign license. You can't drive until you get your Panama driver's license. So I would say you can buy the car, but you're not going to be able to drive it very much at all. It's better to go ahead and get your visa, get your Panama driver's license, and then buy the car. We do have a list of what we call car brokers that can help you find the right car, help with all the paperwork to get it transferred over to your name, so we can help with all of those things. We were on your January tour. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for coming on our January tour. I hope you enjoyed it a lot, and make sure and let us know when you're going to be moving to Panama. Peter wants to know, must the FBI report be apostilled by the U.S. State Department? The FBI report can be apostilled by the U.S. State Department, but that might take 3 or 4 months. It would be better and faster to get it authenticated at the Panama consulate, because that's only going to take about 3 days. So it's much better to do the Panama consulate. Don wants to know, how can you move to Panama before obtaining residency? So this is the thing. It's not necessary to have residency to move to Panama. You don't have to have a visa to move to Panama, because as a tourist, you can stay in Panama for 180 days. So you can move to Panama as a tourist. You can rent a house. You don't need residency to rent a house. You can do an Airbnb or a 6-month rental or even a 1-year rental. Nobody's going to ask to see your visa card. Nobody's going to ask to see that you have residency. And then make sure you bring all of the documents with you, or already have them sent to your immigration attorney for you to get a visa after you get moved to Panama. But it's not required, it's not necessary at all for you to get a residency visa before you move to Panama. You mentioned the cost estimate for attorney fees on the last broadcast. Will there be extra costs for attorney also in the U.S. for the process? You don't, Karen, you don't need an attorney in the U.S. for any of the process. The documents that you need to gather, you can get yourself. There doesn't need to be any attorney involved at all. There's only going to be the legal fees for the attorney in Panama. So for those of you that are just jumped in, I want to recap, because I know we had about 200 people whenever I told you how you can save $1,000 on getting your visa, but now we have about 320 people on the live stream. So I'm going to repeat what I said earlier for the benefit of people that came in a little bit late. To move to Panama, it's not necessary to have a residency visa. And if you wanted to get a residency visa before you move to Panama, it's going to mean that there's a special trip that you have to fly down to Panama to get the residency visa. You'll need to be here 5 to 7 business days, sometimes 10, depending on the visa. Instead, the best time to get a residency visa so that you'll save at least $1,000, maybe $2,000, is wait until after you move to Panama. Excuse me, 1 second. So you do need to come to Panama. You need to do a scouting trip, either that scouting trip on your own or come on a Panama relocation tour, and make sure Panama is right for you. Decide which area that you like the best. You like Panama City the best, Coronado the best, maybe Bocas Totoro, Boquete, Bocan. Which area, David, which area do you like the best? So you need to come on a scouting trip to determine if Panama is right for you, determine if the medications that you take are available and what they cost. Can you get health insurance? Do you like the housing? So during your scouting trip, you're going to investigate things like that. To come on a Panama relocation tour, of course, we do all those things during a Panama relocation tour. Once you determine that Panama is right for you, and that you would like to move here, the next step is for you to, I would say the next step is for you to decide when you want to move to Panama. You know, is it going to be October? Is it going to be January? Going to be July? But when are you going to move? It's probably lined up on when you might be retiring from your job, or after your kids get married or something like that. But there's going to be some date that you set on when you're going to move to Panama. But before you actually make the move to Panama, if you think there might be something on your national criminal report, I would recommend that you go ahead and get that now. And you can do that. Canadians, it's real easy. You can get it online. But for U.S. citizens, you can go to FBI, just do a Google search for FBI approved Chandler. It's usually a UPS store that's right in your neighborhood, where you can go in and get electronic fingerprints. And then within an hour, you'll have your FBI report, so you can see what's on it. You need to send that to an immigration attorney and say, based on what's on my national criminal report, am I going to be able to get a visa? Because the last thing you want to do is move to Panama only to determine that you can't get a visa. So you need to make sure you can get a visa before you actually move here. But the best time to apply for a visa so that you'll save at least $1,000 is actually after you move here, because then you won't have hotel expenses. For 7 days, you won't have eating out expenses for 7 days or any of those things. So now I'm taking some questions about getting a visa. If you have a question for me, please put 3 question marks in front of it so I can easily identify it as a question. Monique says, previously you mentioned appropriate attire and things to bring to the immigration office. As it can be hot, is it okay to wear? Yes. So it's whenever you go to immigration, you can't wear shorts. You can't wear jeans that have holes in it. You can't wear a sleeveless top. You can't wear sandals or anything that your toe shows. It doesn't have to be long sleeves. It can just be a short sleeve, kind of like I have on here. Let me see if I can make this go away. See, I have on short sleeves. It can be just like this. So it doesn't have to be long sleeves, but it can be a skirt for women. It can be a skirt or dress, or it can be long pants. No capris, no shorts. Bruce says, you say you need to prove you have 1-year lease in order to apply for the pensionado visa. No, you don't need to have a 1-year lease in order to apply for a pensionado visa. If you're single, you don't need a lease at all. If you're a married couple and you're applying for a pensionado visa, then you need to show that you have a lease for while you're here. The lease could just be a letter from the hotel where you're staying that says, they're staying at our hotel for the next 7 days. It doesn't have to be a 1-year lease. And another question here. When you come to find a place to live, what's the best way to pay the deposit first and last month's rent? So Mark, this is what I would suggest whenever you first move to Panama. We highly recommend that you never ever rent something on a long-term basis, 6 months to a year, without actually seeing it first. So whenever you first come to Panama, you're probably going to get an Airbnb or stay at a hotel for a couple of weeks. And during that couple of weeks, you can get with one of the real estate agents or property managers that we recommend in our online guide, and they'll take you out to show you all of the different rentals that are available in your price point. And then to pay so first you're going to start with an Airbnb, then you'll go find the place where you're going to stay. If you have pets, there's plenty of places where you can stay at an Airbnb or even hotels that are pet friendly. So you don't have to worry about that. To pay the deposit and the first month's rent, sometimes you can wire the money right into their account here in Panama, or wire the money into their account in the United States. But it doesn't have to be paid in cash. You can wire the money. They won't accept checks and they won't accept credit cards. So it's going to have to either be cash or you're going to have to wire the money into their account. Prentice wants to know, at the end of the 180 days, how long do you need to exit Panama to return? You're supposed to exit Panama for 30 days. And if you're coming in through one of the land borders, they're pretty strict about that. But if you're flying out of Panama and then coming back, so long as they don't see a pattern with it, in other words, you don't do it more than once, then you can probably get away with just being out for 3 or 5 days and then coming back in if you're flying. But Panama is really getting strict about what they call perpetual tourist. So the best thing to do is be here for 6 months, and then apply. Don't forget that whenever you apply for your residency visa, that the documents that you use for applying for the visa, they cannot be more than 6 months old. So the first 180 days, you can stay here as a tourist. During that time frame, you need to apply for a visa. But if your documents are already 1 or 2 months old, you've got to keep that in mind. And you need to apply for a visa maybe 30 days after you move to Panama, after you have your rental, after the refrigerator stocked, after you're settled, then you should apply for a visa. But don't wait too long, because the documents necessary to apply cannot be more than 6 months old. So if anybody else has a question about getting a residency visa, If you please put 3 question marks in front of it, I'll be glad to answer it. My husband got his fingerprints done today at the UPS store and is nervous to get the results. Can we have an attorney look at his electronic report before we come on a scouting trip in February? So yes, you can certainly do that. If you're nervous about the results, I would recommend that you do have an immigration attorney look at the results that are on the FBI report. It may be necessary to not come in February. If you can't get a visa, there's really no need to come. You should know that in Mexico, they don't even require an FBI report at all. So if you have something on your national criminal report and you know you're not going to be able to get a visa in Panama, I suggest you check out Mexico. My daughter-in-law runs a company called Mexico Relocation Guide, which has all the information about getting a residency visa in Mexico. Bobby wants to know, is Spanish translation normally included in the cost of the Panama immigration lawyer? So some lawyers have just one flat fee and it includes the translation. Other attorneys, we work with about 7 different immigration attorneys. Some of them have one flat fee and it includes everything. Other ones say, have an itemized list. This is my legal fees. These are the government fees. These are the translation fees. You know, there's different fees. So some do, some don't. Translation fees are only about $100. It's not very much, but every single document that you're going to submit to immigration for you to get a visa has to be translated by a certified translator here in Panama, and your attorney will make all those arrangements. Okay, do I have to hand deliver the proof of social security letter to the consulate myself, or can I have someone deliver it? You can actually mail it. You can put your social security letter, your FBI report, any other documents that you're going to be needing to get a visa. You can mail it to them in DHL or next day delivery. Just make sure you include an envelope for it to be returned to you. It'd be a good idea to write a little note saying I'm applying for residency visa in Panama. Please authenticate these documents so that I can get everything authenticated. You could also, if you get the address of your immigration attorney, you can have them send the documents after they're authenticated directly to your attorney. They don't have to come back to you and then you send it to your attorney. So you can do it that way also. Husband just has a DWI. So if it's only a DWI, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to be getting, you're going to be able to get a visa. But sometimes there's things that show up. I've had this happen. Sometimes things show up on an FBI report and people say, what in the world is this? I didn't do that. And maybe there was some name that got mixed up and it showed up on your FBI report. If that's the case, that needs to all be cleaned up before you come to Panama to get a residency visa. That's one of the reasons I recommend, you know, even if you're not going to be moving to Panama for a year or two, go ahead and get your national criminal report if you think there's going to be something on there, just to see what shows up. You never know. So I don't know if you guys remember if you were on the call last week, but I'm just now getting over bronchitis and I still have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. So talking makes me cough more and it gives me this tickle in my throat. So I'm going to cut it a little bit short today and only do a 40-minute live stream. Just to reiterate, the main things that I wanted to cover is that before you move to Panama, you need to do a scouting trip, either on your own. We have recommendations on how to do a self-guided tour in our online guide, or join us for an all-inclusive 6-day, 7-night Panama relocation tour. Once you determine that Panama is right for you and you verified that your medications are available, that you can get health insurance, that you know a neighborhood that you might like to move to, once you know that all those things are okay and that you want to move to Panama, then set a date on when you're going to be moving to Panama and back out from that date. That remember, the documents that you gather for getting a pensionado visa can't be more than 6 months old on the day that you apply for a visa. So you can go ahead and get your documents gathered up, and then move to Panama, get settled into your rental property, and then apply for a visa after you move to Panama, because then you can save at least $1,000, more like $2,000 on not making a special trip to Panama just to get your visa. By the time you have airfare, 7 days of hotel, 7 days of eating out, it could easily be $1,500 or $2,000 for a couple that you spend on coming to Panama only for the reason of getting a visa. So you can save that money if you wait and get a visa after you move to Panama. So I want to thank everybody so much for joining me for our live stream. And I hope you have a really good weekend. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. We have several new videos coming out. If you subscribe, you'll be the first one to know when they go live. Enjoy your weekend. Bye, everybody.